when I was a kid, right, my father was bought a MIG house, but then we needed one extra for myself and my brother. He decided that I will get it constructed. Now, how did that construction work? So he had already spent all his money in buying that property. So now every month he would have some surplus put to work. Now he was very particular about the quality. I find it a very good model about building portfolio. When I was a kid, right, my father was bought a MIG, we used to call it income MIG houses. So he bought that, but then we needed one extra room for myself and my brother, right? So he decided that I will get it constructed on a ready-made home, right? Now, how that construction worked was very peculiar. Okay, so he had already spent all his money in buying that property. So he was virtually whatever withdrawal he could have taken from Provident Fund and all that was already done. So now every month he would have some surplus to be put to work, right? Now he was very particular about the quality, you know. So what he will do is every month there is some construction or something that he will get. So पहले रूम बन गया तो एकदम बेसिक उसमें प्लास्टर भी नहीं हुआ है, राइट? फिर थोड़ा सा पैसा आया, सो रूम में प्लास्टर हो गया, राइट? फिर खिड़कियां लग गई बट उसमें ग्लास नहीं लगा है, राइट? तो ही केप्ट ऑन कंस्ट्रक्टिंग इट लाइक दैट. द पॉइंट टू नोट हियर इज he had the entire blueprint of that particular house to be constructed with him, right? What he was doing was, as and when the resources were becoming available, he was getting one of them and putting it into the place. I find it a very good model, a very good way of thinking about building portfolios. Because what happens is, uh, in the ultimate form, your portfolio needs to have all kind of diversification. Right? It will have equity also, it will have debt also, it will have probably precious metals also, it will probably have some international exposure also, everything. Now, like what was happening when we are constructing the house, at that point of time, not everything was available. Now, here, not everything is available at a good price, right? So, what you do is you keep on building it up. Now, as an advisor, I know what blueprint is. My job is every year keep on constructing that portion of the portfolio, right? Where the raw material is available at a decent valuation. And you keep on doing that, right? Not trying to do again something smart, very basic, right? Anyways have to buy these things. The quality is anyway is non-compromisable, right? So when that quality is available at a reasonable price, I buy that. And I keep on doing that. And in 5-10 years, your house is constructed, your portfolios.
So if I need to summarize, you said to do a good investing, identify a good company which can last for a longer duration, maybe for a decade or two, with a reasonable valuation, and over a period of time build modularly without doing stupid mistakes, which can be not knowing where you are investing or taking too much risk, getting biased with all the noise around, or also you mentioned about the idea where people are just going after one kind of investment, say equity, and not getting into FD. So making sure that the balance is also there. So it's not that when you are building the house, you just focus on one room and leave aside all the other rooms empty.
What are the most difficult problems that you find? Apart from, I know Bitcoin is one. So, what are the problems that where, you find confusion? Uh, you know, what are, what are the difficulties in that you face as an investor in taking decisions?
Last year, my brother bought a house and he wanted to renovate his toilets and other stuff. and he was constantly looking for what kind of tiles. Now, there are tiles like granite, marble, glass, wooden, and each one have their own texture. Each one have their own color. What I felt in the market as well, exactly the same. You have index fund, you have mid cap, you have flexi cap, you have I don't know how many variations of each one of them, and that's what also gave me a lot of stress in as to what to choose, because the on one portal one is looking good and on the other one. So this paradox of choice is the biggest worry for me, and it is not only in investment. I mean, you can also see if you go to a Levi's showroom, they will show you a low waist, a high waist, I don't know, something rugged from the knees. So my question is, how one can get away with this paradox of choices which are getting abundant over a period of time.
Right. Now, before we sort of address that, let's look the impact of it. Right. Uh, there are two things which happens when you spoil for choices. Either you end up not making decisions, right, or you start, sort of nibbling a little bit of everything. Then that doesn't have that impact. So it's like what we see nowadays when I am getting portfolios of people. There would be like 20, 30 funds in their portfolio. Now, interestingly, all those funds are investing in similar kind of store of companies, right? So they end up owning everything, but the same thing. So that's over diversification. And also, then the position sizing or the sort of commitment for sort of any large bet which can have upside is also not there. So that is the impact. So you have the right things, but not enough, right? So that is the issue. One is that either you will not do anything or you will do all the things, right, with limited exposure to everything, right? So again, the problem is before going for the choices, you need to be clear that what you need, what are you looking for, right? For example, let's say you spoke about index fund, right? So an investor can say that, what, I am going to take like X% exposure in stocks, right? What I will do now is half of it I'll do it in index fund, half of it will be active management. So half of it passive management, half of it active management. You can change the number. You can say 30% passive management, 70% active management, right? So you solved one problem, right? Now you can look for out of the passive management how many funds or how many securities you want to have, right? Then you go to the active side, right? So you can say, okay, in active I have so many choices, right? So I will take one choice which is of, let's say, contrast strategy, one choice which is of momentum strategy, one I would have a direct sort of investing through Anshul, right? So something of that sort. So there also you have divided and you have pre-decided how many choices you want to have. Same when I'm constructing a equity portfolio, might have 50, 60, 70 companies that I like, but I have placed the upper limit. I will not go beyond 30, right? I will not go beyond 10% in a particular stock. So these sort of principles that you set up, and then it is very important to stick with them throughout. If you change them in between, then the entire exercise is futile. So every investor has to make his own framework like this, right? When he does that, the choices become simpler.
Correct. So you are saying that put a constraint on the system, and the constraint will make the process of selection more effective.
Absolutely. So, for example, if I go and buy a jeans, right? So I'll say, कि, okay, I don't want any other color, blue ही चाहिए मेरे को. I don't want rugged, right? Now my choices are limited, you know. So I'll just go and pick one of them,
That's
and
correct.
that would serve the purpose. That's it.